Hi, welcome to Infinity Within. I am Nita Kruger, your coach and host on recovering from trauma. That's a big task. And today we're going to talk about my top three, you have to do this to heal from trauma. And this isn't coming at you from a space of, I guess, or I think, or this is just what I want you to do. This is coming at a place from hard self work and sharing forward how you can truly reach a new, safe place in your life. I've been there. I've been to those devastating, soul wrenching, suicidal thoughts place. And every single time I have pulled myself forward to a new level of safety. So today we're going over the top three for healing trauma. And these are just the things that you have to do in order to get started. The first one is to remove. This is a big one. Oh my God, this is just like so so earth shattering when we're people who are low on self worth, low on self esteem. We are, our buckets of self love are upside down. We are used to people coming first. We are used to other people, um, taking the spot in line before us, so to speak. We have got to, this is the number one thing. We have to start getting real. And in order to get real about where we are at in our life, we have to remove those blinders of kindness. We tend to see the people as people pleasers. We tend to see the world as like everything that everybody does should be as kind as we would make it. It leaves us in a space of if only and why didn't, and a repetitive, continual churn of hurt feelings and wondering why somebody didn't XYZ. Well, the reason somebody didn't XYZ is because they simply don't even think about or see the world the same way that we do. And we, as people pleasers, we, as trauma victims, we are used to having our feelings hurt, our physical selves hurt, our emotional, psychological selves are used to pain. We are used to being used and abused. We're used to sitting in that space of trying to turn a red flag into a green flag. It's what we do. There's no shame in that. There is shame in continuing that behavior. Shame on me, Nita, if I continue a behavior once I have seen it. If I have seen my own toxic self behavior, and now I have the ability to change it, yet I continue to not do anything about it, well, then that is shame on me for not fixing my own loop, right? But when we're just becoming aware of our trauma and our past and how that impacts our current choices, there's no shame in that. There's just glory in that. There is just praise to heap upon yourself for doing the hard work and showing up for yourself. And even when we do stumble after we have taken off and the blinders and we look at our own life, like, well, I keep people pleasing, so I keep having toxic relationships. I keep turning red flags into green flags. I keep looking at this person and giving them the kindness that I have, that I willingly, wantingly give, and I blindly expect them to give it back to me. Full well knowing they're not going to and they can't, and then we get hurt and caught up in that. Right? Once we're aware of our own role in that circular cycle, a little tiny slap on the wrist, shame on you, but a dump truckload of self-compassion on our own souls, when we repeat these mistakes, because that is what learning is. Think all the way back to when you were a little tiny kid and you did a math test or a spelling test. Think of how many times you had to practice learning how to spell supercalifragilisticexpialidocious in order to know how to spell it. Okay, even the word it took practice at one point in your life, and it took a lot of self-compassion for you to get from learning how the and the t come together and form a word. Okay? So just remember, these lessons that you're learning now is the same as if you were in kindergarten or preschool or first grade or third grade or fifth grade, where somebody lovingly took patience and kindness and helped you learn this lesson. So the number one first step in my book is to remove the kindness blinders. Stop looking at everybody in your life with expectations of them to be doing unto you as you do unto them. Because as people pleasers, as recovering trauma victims, and as codependent people, as people who have shut off part of our emotional, intuitive, spiritual self, we do not have a healthy balance. We have a giving balance. So our system is used to being taken advantage of. We are used to over providing for people. We attract people to us who take. We're like, the Pac-Man we're the feed for the Pac-Man, and they just gobble us up. That's why we are consumed with toxic narcissistic personalities, or people who are, quite honestly, out of touch with how they interact with the world. They want it their way. Aggressive or dominant personalities, manipulative personalities, because our kindness eyes are too overdeveloped. Okay? So item 2 in our top 3, in my top 3, okay? I'll amend. This is my top 3. Comes from years and years of leveling up and leveling up and leveling up myself and my children. And anybody who is still with me on this journey. This is not a lesson easily learned or easily applied or easily shared forward. So my top 3, well, here we are on number 2 for healing trauma, is we've taken a look at our kindness blinders, okay? So we have an idea of where we're a little too kind because we're always getting our feelings hurt. So now that we have activated this look into our life, we are going to take a real good look about who is disrespecting us. Who is disrespecting you? Who is ghosting you? Who is cheating on you? Who's lying to you? Who's stealing from you? Who is using you, manipulating you? Who is taking more than they're giving? That's a big one. But we can't see those people if we're looking through that lens of our overdeveloped kindness. Codependent people, so those of us recovering from trauma, we develop a strong survival mechanism. That's how I view it, and that is codependency. I have a book coming out on the recovery of narcissistic abuse and our codependent tendencies in that survival mechanisms. And we're going to get the fuck out of those survival mechanisms. And we are going to build safe, healthy ones. And in order to do that, we have to get really real about what we are doing in our life. And right now, if we recognize where we're too kind because our feelings are hurt, we're crying, we're confused, nobody who cherishes you will leave you in a state of confusion. Ever. Period. Nobody who is healthy and safe, emotionally mature, emotionally intelligent, psychologically and physically safe for you. They are not going to leave you in a position where you're confused about your relationship. They are not going to leave you in a position where they leave things drawn out, strung along, leading you along to an ending. And this could be any kind of relationship, from work to home to romantic to familial relationships. If people are disrespecting you, it's because you're allowing them to disrespect you. Now, that isn't your fault. You were trained to be obedient. You were trained to show up and to be kind in the face of cruelty. That is how you survived to this point. And thank fucking God you did. I'm incredibly proud of you for the fact that you just survived. And now you're taking this step to where you're going to want to thrive. So we've got to get real. We got to get real about peeling back those blinders, getting real about the people in your life who are just sucking energy out of you like they're a freaking vampire. We do not want energy vampires. We do not want takers, manipulators, narcissistic abusers, psychological abusers, sociopaths, any of it. We're done. And that leads us to the third in my top 3 for healing for trauma. As we enter 2024, and we're going to intentionally look at, how can I have a different life? I can envision this life, but how do I actually get there? How do I manifest it into happening? It's such a buzzword right now, right? And we all just want that magic transportation to happen. Well, I'm here, but I want to just, what was it in Star Wars or Star Trek, where they would beam you over to the planet, right? We want to beam into the future, but we cannot do that because we wouldn't know how to act as the confident, secure person in that vision that we have of ourselves. We have to do those hard knocks of learning along the way and processing our trauma and becoming really strong and self-loving along that path of trauma processing and unlearning all of those survival mechanisms. So if you want to be an expert in manifestation, the work to do in order to manifest your dreams and desires is to heal that past version of you, heal that trauma. Because for everything that you heal, you're going to show up tomorrow a bit more secure and confident. And that's what that future version of you that you can envision needs. It needs that self-loving, confident you that you see in those visions and dreams. So let's go to our number 3. You have got to intentionally take action. Intentionally take action. If you see that you're overly kind, as all codependent people are, they are lovely. Codependent people are just lovely. We're lovely people. We are so lovely. Everybody loves us. We're lovely. People either love us or they hate us, right? Because a narcissist can never love you all the time, and they can't love you freely and openly because they're incapable. But that's about them. But this is about us. Codependent people are lovely because we have no boundaries. Now you can get into toxic codependent people, which will have a stronger manipulative side. They'll have a stronger survival mechanisms that create more toxic chaos. Those exist. That's not you. That's not me. We're lovely. Freaking lovely people because we do whatever anybody asks at any cost to ourselves. I remember going for days on 2 to 3 hours of sleep just so I could get everything done for everybody and, quite honestly, look perfect. I looked perfect because part of my survival mechanism was a severe fear of imperfection. Black and white thinking, very, very, very trauma driven to overperform and overproduce, because you have to if you want to survive around narcissists, right? But we don't have to do that anymore because we are removing our kindness blinders. We are getting real about who's disrespecting us, and we are intentionally going to take action to change those things about us. We cannot change those people disrespecting us. Here's what we can do. We can go directly to them and say, hey, Sally, when this happened, I felt really disrespected. I felt like you were not seeing the work that I've done. And I felt like we needed to talk about that. I am not going to be disrespected anymore. I'm not going to overdo for you anymore. And Sally could go one of a billion different ways, but let's just say Sally is capable. She gives you a green flag and she says, with eye contact, squaring her shoulders up to you, she says, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make you feel that way. What happened? What exactly happened that made you feel disrespected so that I can work on that? And here, Nita, is how I'm going to work on that. And then you and Sally can talk about some parameters so that you feel safe to continue the relationship with her. Here is, though, where through our kindness blinders and our second, third, fourth, 1,000th chance training, right? We give people so many chances because we're afraid of the future. We're afraid of the unknown. We're afraid of not having our trail of evidence and our every little possible scenario mapped out. So we turn red flags to green flags because we're afraid of offending somebody else who's disrespecting us. That's backward, right? It's backward. We watch heroes in movies set boundaries all the time, and yet we lack the skill set to do that in our own life. So if Sally comes at you and gives you a red flag back, saying something like, I didn't disrespect you. I don't know what you're talking about. Or maybe Sally doesn't answer you for a week. You can see, maybe you texted this to her and you see that she read it, but she just forgot. I'm using some air quotes here. She forgot. Oh, I forgot. Oh, well, that shows you how important you are. So remove your kindness blinders. Think of that action hero in the movie that you love. And intentionally take a step towards future you and healing past little girl, little boy you, and stand up for yourself and say, oh, well, I understand where I rate in your life, and I'm okay with that. It's fine. See you around. I would say maybe see you around if it was like the first or the second. But if we're looking like the third, the fourth, the 10th, sometimes people have to learn. That's why I'm saying second. If they can't figure out their own behavior by the second time that you've addressed something, quite honestly, they're just not in it. And you're going to outgrow that person. And you need to get really comfortable with the fact that you're going to outgrow lots of people in your life. You're going to outgrow people that you love, people that you think are going to be in your life forever. And they're not. They're not, because the minute that you start to level up and you remove your kindness blinders and you demand better from people by intentionally holding them accountable to their behavior, people are going to get scared and they're going to possibly even be meaner to make you be the bad guy and leave a relationship. And that's okay because it's not about you. Their behavior is about them. It's reflecting their work that they haven't done, and you can't change that. But you can change the fact that you're giving them access to you. You can intentionally get real about their disrespect, their lack of care, their lack of kindness. Even if they say they love you, love is a verb, it is an action. It is evidenced not through saying, it is evidenced in, just this plethora of brilliancy. It is actioned over and over and over, and not just once for a week or a month. It is actioned through a repetitive, continual stepping forward with you. It's okay to outgrow people. It is okay to bump into the brick wall several times before you figure out how to block somebody who is ghosting you and treating you with such disrespect. It's okay to have self-compassion that you allowed somebody to do that to you. We all have. We've all had growing moments. But the important thing is that we grow out of those moments. Now, why do we want to grow out of those moments? Why is that so important and valuable? It's going to give us one step closer towards the life that we desire, towards the safe, healthy, that picture in your mind of who and what and where you want to be. You're actioning. You're intentionally actioning your life. That energy in motion is powerful. It is so powerful. It's something you should be incredibly proud of. And it is something that you should keep feeding and fueling. Tiny steps in the right direction. It will get you to your goals. So let's recap Nita's top 3 things that starter course for healing trauma. 1, remove your kindness blinders. 2, get real about who is disrespecting you. 3, intentionally take action. Those are broad, and yet they are so crucial. I think I spent 2016 beginning to wake up to this idea of removing my kindness blinders, who's disrespecting me, and intentionally taking action. And the action that I took in the very beginning, like 2017, 2018, 2016, it was just this really just barely aware, like way in the back of my intuitive self starting to come online of like, what's happening here? This is not good. And then 2017, I started going, these specific actions that somebody is wanting to do really make me feel horrible. And why is it okay for this person to make me feel horrible all the time when they're supposed to love me? That's disgusting. And then as I began to probably unknowingly, unwittingly put up tiny boundaries of you're not going to do that anymore, tiny, just even body language shifts, right? Because I had so much fear in me, but I would do those tiny body language shifts of like, what was that? That's not okay. Or I would ask questions of like, I think we need therapy and we need help. I started to get rage back at me. And in 2018, I found myself upside down on the receiving end of incredible rage. And I didn't know what to do, but I knew it was wrong. And sometimes that right there, feeding that this is wrong, that's enough of a start. And if you are in that space of just listening to this and there's a something happening in your life that you know is wrong, I'm telling you, you're correct. Anything that your intuition is telling you is wrong, you need to feed that truth. Feed that truth. By 2019, I was beginning to action. Sometimes our journey takes a long time because it requires us to unravel a lot of normalized survival mechanisms and normalized trauma. We don't get an empty self-love, self-worth, self-respecting bucket in one action of trauma. We get it by being trained and wore down over a course of time of repetitive, low quality behavior. But we don't have to live with low quality behavior around us all the time. And we definitely can refuse to bring low quality behavior within us. We cannot feed our soul. We cannot achieve those dreams if we are filled with low quality self behavior. And that's what I'm asking you here or giving you here. I'm asking you to level up with yourself. You can do this work quietly in the dark, behind the scenes, or you can do this work right out there in the open. But those top three, remove those kindness blinders. Get real about who's disrespecting you and intentionally take action. And I would encourage you on the action that you take to seek out, like look laterally, cast a net out for support and help. No matter what kind of disrespect is coming your way, there is such an open arms network with the internet today to teach you skills. I myself have skills coming out in the next couple of weeks. Plus, there's an entire free podcast behind this episode that can help you shape and fine tune what you're working on right now. But the only people who get to disrespect you in life are the people who you allow. And I know that's a hard thing to understand when you've been trained to abandon your emotional self, your psychological self, your spiritual self, your financial self, your digital self. When you've been trained to please other people and to show up for other people, to be nice, be kind, to please them over giving to your own soul, it's a hard realization to go, you actually have the right to keep your power within you and to fuel your needs first and foremost, because a filled up, beautiful, gorgeous, glowing you is going to create a healthier world, life, and environment for all of the people that you keep in your network. I've talked a lot about how I grabbed onto my children through my healing journey. I grabbed onto those kids and I would not let go. My kids were young. Okay, these were not adults. You cannot, once a child becomes an adult, if you haven't established a pattern of normalized therapy to heal things, you're going to have a difficult time getting that child yanked along to your ways of thinking. That's okay. They're an adult. They get to make their own decisions and their own path in life. And if that path includes or does not include you or disrespects your boundaries, you have a right to establish the minimum with which you will be treated and hold them accountable or take a break. It's okay to step back and take a break, even from your family. And I think that's a key point that many of us trauma survivors, narcissistic abuse survivors, people who have ended up in the depths and hells of mental illness, PTSD, depression, we have normalized horrific things and we think everybody goes through those things, but the reality is they don't. Many, many, many children were taught, this is what I'm asking you to consider. They were taught that when you break your leg, we all know you go to the hospital, you get help. You go to the doctor, you get help. You go to physical therapy, you rehabilitate. But when we break our spirit, when we are abused, when our psyche, when our psychological self is hurt, we run and we escape. We are glorified into escaping through a multitude of things. There's no one thing that is worse than the other. They're all escapes. Drugs, alcohol, sex, gambling, on and on the list go. Myself, I was a freaking addict to people pleasing. And I know that. I wasn't toxic to anybody but really myself. And eventually my spouse, because I was escaping the abuse of a unsafe marriage by over committing myself in the community roles that I had. And so we can turn anything into a really toxic behavior. But we've got to get real in order to heal. Oh, that rhymed. I didn't mean for that to rhyme. But it works, right? We do. We've got to take those blinders off and get real about the life that we're living if we want to change the direction and course, if we want to stop being abused, if we want to stop being victimized, if we want to stop attracting people who ghost us, if we want to stop living in a state of barely scraping by in life, we have to get real about what we're doing in our life, the actions and the habits and the behaviors that we are having of ourselves, because we're the only ones who can change those things. We're the only ones who can do anything about it. So that is our top 3 for healing trauma. Welcome to 2024. This is your action call. We're going to remove the kindness blinders, get real about who is disrespecting us, and intentionally take action. You're strong enough for the journey ahead. I know you are. Thanks for showing up today, and I can't wait to see you next week.